Thank you to our media partners for taking time to really highlight this very important effort, and a reminder that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We are here today to raise awareness to our community members about this very important topic. I don't think that most people realize that 1 in 4 women about important issues. It's something that affects women and men, and we want you to be aware of the resources available to you and how APD is working to keep you safe. With our recent non-emergency response policy rollout, there may have been some confusion as to how APD is responding to domestic violence calls. As a matter of fact, I'm aware a news story recently ran that may not have been completely accurate. We've immediately looked into the matter. What I think is important for people to know, it has always been and will continue to be APD's policy to have officers respond in person to domestic violence calls. If you are a victim of domestic violence, regardless of the time frame since the incident, officers will come to assist you, and APD victim service counselors are available to speak with you. Community safety is our #1 priority. So again, if you are a victim of domestic violence, regardless of the time frame, whether it's happening now or has happened in the past, a call to 911 would be appropriate so that APD can respond in person. If you can't safely call 911, text to 911 is available. You can also reach out to the domestic violence hotline at 800-799-SAFE. Today, you're going to hear from an APD victim service supervisor, as well as survivor leaders who have survived family violence and are now helping community members and others. I'm going to go ahead and hand off to Kirsha Haverla, Chair of the Austin-Travis County Family Violence Task Force. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Chacon. Hi, my name is Kirsha Haverla, and it is my honor and pleasure to serve as the chair of the Austin-Travis County Family Violence Task Force. The task force was created in 1989 after the Austin Police Department did an in-house study which revealed that many families in the community were repeatedly reaching out to the criminal justice system for help. A small group of committed individuals from prosecutors' offices, law enforcement, and community organizations working together created the task force. This dedicated group hoped to follow up arrests with early intervention, including counseling and referrals for victims and offenders. During the past 30 years, the task force also helped to create a dedicated family violence court, known as Court 4, and established guidelines for programs for those who use violence in their relationships, holding them accountable while giving them tools to help them form healthy relationships. It is the task force's mission to prevent more domestic violence through community programs such as Expect Respect in our schools and classes for those who use violence. This holistic approach is the best way to end the cycle of violence. We work with multiple organizations and agencies who provide everything from shelter to legal assistance to help families recover from abuse. As Chief Chacon said, violence unfortunately affects 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men. So it is very likely that you will know several people in your lifetime that has experienced domestic violence, even if they never tell you. Some websites that might be helpful are hashtag #everyoneknowsomeone or loveisrespect.org. You can break the silence and stop domestic violence. Learn the signs. Check in on a friend who has dropped off your radar. Has their personality changed from bubbly and outgoing to shy and introverted? Do they have to check in with their partner multiple times a day? Be patient and supportive. And during the month of October, the Austin-Travis County Family Violence Public Awareness Committee has several efforts to help us raise awareness in our community about domestic violence. So it gives me great pleasure to now introduce you to Stephanie Burgess. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Burgess, and I'm here today to serve in a couple of roles. My first role is to be the supervisor on the Domestic Violence Unit at the Austin Police Department. We have a team of 9 mental health professionals who provide follow-up services throughout the investigation and connect victims to support and resources. We also have our crisis response team that can be dispatched to the scene when a police report is originally made. I also serve as the Public Awareness Chair for the Austin-Travis County Family Violence Task Force. Each October, being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the task force works to set up awareness events in our community. These events serve to build community knowledge and engagement in regards to domestic violence, energize and connect the professionals assisting survivors, and most importantly, honor those who have been impacted by violence. This October, the task force has several events in which you can participate that I would like to highlight. All of these events can be found on our website, www.safeaustin.org/DVAM. First, I'd like to highlight our Light Up Purple campaign. We encourage businesses, agencies, and residents throughout our community to replace their regular light bulbs with purple lighting instead, to spark needed conversations on what healthy relationships look like. We also are hosting a 911 cell phone drive throughout the month at various law enforcement and criminal justice agencies and the Central Library downtown. This is a vital safety tool for survivors who would not otherwise have access when in need of an emergency police response. Now more than ever, these phone donations are needed as the supply has been critically low. And as a first this year, we partnered with the Texas Stars hockey team in Cedar Park to host a resource area and cast domestic violence messaging at the game on Thursday, October 28th. If you go to our website that I mentioned before, you can buy tickets through our link, which will send $5 back to the task force so we can continue to raise awareness and host events in our community. We'll also be doing a Kendra Scott Gives Back fundraiser October 29th through October 30th. As we continue to navigate the pandemic and what a new normal will be like, we're looking forward to the years to come and the return of hosting in-person events through your generosity. Now I'll turn the floor over to a survivor leader in our community, Marcie. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcie Vitardi Jordan. I'm a mother, a wife, and also a domestic violence survivor. My story took place in the early 1980s.
And I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but your camera is not on right now. Can you turn your camera on, please?
Okay. Can you see me now? Okay. Am I on now or no?
No, we still can't see you.
Okay. Am I good now?
There you are. We see you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. Again, my story took place in the 1980s. I thought I had married my Prince Charming, and what I ended up was 3.5 years of a nightmare. And my nightmare consisted of 7 stitches in the forehead, a car key stuck in my hand, and then the last time waking up in the hospital in the ICU, and the first 24 hours, not knowing if I was going to live or die. I was also at that time 5 months pregnant. Needless to say, the baby did not survive and I barely made it. At that time, I had to make a decision. Did I love me or was I going to wait one more time? At that time, I just decided I love me. So I got home, I packed a suitcase, and whatever else I could cram in there, got a one-way ticket, and I got out and left and moved across country to where my father lived. My husband at that time filed for divorce, and he told me I wasn't getting anything. I said, that's fine. All I wanted was whatever clothes I had left there and my maiden name back. And at that time, I didn't talk about it because I was ashamed. I thought I had did something wrong, or maybe if I would have done something right, or if I said something right, or maybe if I wouldn't have pushed him, or, maybe cooked dinner right. And then after a while, I realized it was not me. It was him. He had the problem, not me. And it took me a long time to realize that, I had to get over this. He was the one that had the problem. So it took me a long time to actually start talking about it and deciding that there was no shame. that it does happen. And if I talked about it, maybe I could save just one person's life. And I did overcome the self-doubt, the self-esteem issues. I met my husband and I have been married for 30 years. I did put him through a whole lot. I did push his buttons to see if he was going to hit me. Was he going to belittle me? And he finally sat me down and told me, no, I'm not like him. I would never hurt you. And I decided at that time I need to talk about it, because if I could save one person's life from my story, then everything I went through was worth it. So that's why I'm involved, to let people know that it's not your fault. And if you are in a situation like this, please, please, please get out. Plan. If you can't leave immediately, plan your escape. Start sticking money aside, putting clothes aside, do whatever you can, and realize, love yourself, love your kids, get out. Your kids don't need to see this, because if you don't get out, you may never be able to get out. And unfortunately, you may be carried out in a body bag. So that's my story. Thank you. Courtney?
Hi, we're passing it off to me.
Yes, passing it off to you.
Hi, I'm Courtney Santana. Can everyone see me? I think you can hear me. Okay, well, I'm Courtney Santana. I'm the CEO of the Survive to Thrive Foundation. I too am a survivor of domestic violence and sexual assault. It will be 22 years this year. And I started the Survive to Thrive Foundation to support survivors of domestic abuse who now are facing displacement and homelessness. My story is much like many others. I was in an abusive relationship for several years, experienced extreme violence at the hands of my abuser, several concussions, I lost a baby. And after several years of that, I went to the local shelter here to receive services. And then after that, it became my mission to serve people like me with children like mine. So now I'm working to deal with the 39% of those victims that find themselves displaced or homeless as a result of their violence, or they've experienced abuse during their lifetime. We are serving over 1,200 families in the last year through our COVID hotline that we've partnered with many community members, including APD, who's a strong partner, and Victim Services, who is like family to us. We support them in providing a hotel safety net, which provides capacity in local hotels and food resources when we have them to victims who are displaced by their violence. And we're launching a couple of campaigns this month. One called the I Believe You campaign that deals with victim blaming and victim shaming, and how do we support victims in their moving forward towards self-sufficiency and recovery. And most of what we do is about survivor empowerment and providing resources to that community. So we're looking forward to partnering with APD and with Victim Services in the future to continue to provide this resource to the community, because 39% of those that are out there right now that are living on the streets are saying that they are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. And if we can help to provide them the safety net that they need going forward, we'll be saving lives in the future. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Courtney. Mr. George Chavez.
Good afternoon. I am George Chavez. I'm a police officer with the Austin Police Department. I'm currently assigned to the Domestic Violence Unit's CRASH team. CRASH team stands for Coordinated Response to Abuse for Safe Homes. The Domestic Violence Unit is composed of 2 sergeants, 16 detective investigators, 4 crash officers, and 9 victim services counselors. The Apd Crash Unit's existence is a testament to the department's commitment to victims of family violence. The Crash Unit's mission is simply to increase victim safety by providing investigative and tactical support for the family violence as well as a sex crimes unit. Crash has the unique ability to respond to immediate threat issues of victims of family violence and stalking. Crash assists high-risk victims of family violence, stalking, and sex crimes, and works closely with victim advocacy groups in the Austin area to provide security and peace of mind to victims of these crimes. We have several important partnerships with groups such as APD's Victim Services, the District and County Attorney's Offices, pretrial and probation services, and local advocacy groups. Through these relationships, particularly that with Victim Services, we are able to intervene in high-risk cases where there is an elevated concern for victim safety. Some tools available to us include fugitive apprehension in cases with active warrants, surveillance, assistance executing search warrants, safety planning with victims, including checking their vehicles or their electronic devices for trackers or spyware. In addition, we have a program which, in certain cases, allows us to temporarily loan and install wireless surveillance cameras at victims' residences. Domestic violence is a unique crime type due to the relationship between the victim and the suspect. This poses an ongoing safety concerns for victims and increased emotional stress as victims navigate through a complex criminal justice system. The domestic violence unit as a whole works together and helps to mitigate these hardships for victims to whatever extent possible. At this time, we'll open up the floor to questions if there are any.
Priscilla with Univision.
Hi there. I would like to ask, how has COVID changed, if any, in any way, shape, or form, the way some of these resources are available for victims?
Could I answer that question or part of it? Hello, Priscilla. So last year, the Austin Public Health Department gifted us money to directly respond to victims who were trapped in their homes due to COVID. They were in long periods of time in your home with your abuser can become pretty explosive, and they saw an uptick in domestic violence calls and aggravated assault calls. So they asked us to start a 24-hour hotline to assist those victims who were trying to get out of the isolation that was caused by COVID. They didn't have opportunities to make outcries normally, like if they went to work, they were cut off from family groups. There were several reasons why victims weren't able to get access to resources during COVID, just because they were even shut down. Even the shelters they saw a decrease in capacity because they were trying to mitigate infection risk, and they were also trying to make sure to safeguard their staff as well. So we had to create capacity in very inventive ways through hotel stays and through other resources available to the community.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank
Anyone else want to answer that, or did we have another reporter?
I will jump in as well. Thank you, Courtney. I think Courtney did a really good job of explaining how Survive to Thrive has been able to help fill a gap as shelter capacity needed to decrease for COVID. I'll just also add in that while Victim Services has been navigating how to best respond and meet victim needs, we do remain available in person and over the phone to support victims. So.
Thank you, Stephanie. Do we have any other reporter questions? All right, well, I don't see any more questions, so I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for coming today, to everyone who spoke and shared their stories and the resources, all very important. And also thank you to all the media who attended. thanks so much for being a part of raising awareness and help during Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.